decisions based on what's we feel is best, and based on the matchups, based on what we have. And I don't like grits either, so.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Attack on Cowboys. Let's get right into defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus discussing the state of the defense and kind of where we go from here. And are him and Trevon Diggs cool? I'm just asking for inquiring minds. Are he and Trevon Diggs cool? On top of that, we're going to get into an interview that Stephen Jones did, and it actually dropped some pretty damn big news. Let's get right into it. Be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content like this on the regular, and leave a like on the video for your boy. Man, shut your up. It's free, y'all. It's free. For real. Leave a like. It's free. It's free. Let's get right into this one. Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator of the Cowboys. Y'all know we've been kind of keeping up with everything he's been saying because the defense has been a problem child. So I definitely want to hear what the defensive coordinator is doing to fix it.
What are they doing? Good. All right. In terms of last week, I thought our guys took a step in the right direction, and it really stems from the practices that we had. So really good practices, really good.
By the way, get your SYBAU shirts. Get your SYBAU shirts. Link in the description below.
Good focus and attention and being intentional in the walkthroughs, really at a high level there, and really good. So, the guys have done that this week. Excited about where they are, and we got a heck of a day today because we got third down today, and we had some improvement in that area last week as well. And the guys did a good job with knowing the plan and executing the plan. So we're excited about that. In terms of guys that are in competition, our whole team's built on competition, rotations and who's starting and not starting. That's really what we go by. We go by the way they practice and the way they play in the games, and I think that's important.
Love that. Love that. As long as y'all stay true to that. I absolutely love hearing that from a coach. Get the best guy on the field. Whoever's playing the best, that's who needs to be out there.
That the players understand that, and also, everybody else understands that. It's all based on that, and it's opportunity for everybody to step up and, gain a role, and a guy to get a role back. So that's the way we look at it.
I like that.
With injuries to linebacker, we Jack had the concussions, everybody knows. And then Murray has played inside for us, and we're excited about his opportunity, and he's played that in our passing downs, and he'll be playing that in our run downs now. And then Shamar will get the opportunity to play, as you saw in the game last week. That will be the same rotation for us, and we're excited about it. We're excited for Shamar. He's a young player that's got quickness and athletic ability, and he's got really good instincts, and does a good job punching at the ball, and that's going to pay off for him. But he's working hard. He's going from playing pass downs to play the.
So those of y'all who are Shamar James fans already, we're gonna see him again. Large dose of Shamar James this Sunday.
Rundowns now, so that's an opportunity for him. And then on Carolina, the big thing with them is obviously stopping the run, and doing a good job with that. And that's just being all 11 on the same page, all 11 being where they're supposed to do with great technique and great demeanor. And that's going to be important for us. We worked hard on that yesterday. We were in pads. So you get a chance to work more on that today in the start of practice, and we'll segue over to third downs from there. But a good football team coming off a big win, and it's going to be a big challenge for our defense in the run game and the pass. A couple good skill players over there as well. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. What would you attribute the success defensively last week? More about simplifying the defense, or guys getting comfortable in what you want them to do?
Yeah, it's really just those guys being in the system. And being comfortable with it, and having some continuity in the walkthroughs and practice. Having the guys in there actually doing the reps, and that's important. Having the two corners back was also good to have those guys in there. But it's about continuity, practice time, time on task. I always say that, and I tell the guys all the time that it's all we have is what we do on the grass, and it's important that we execute out there, on all downs, and they did that well last week.
Are you surprised it took this long, or is this the normal progression of things?
Yeah, I know we took a step. We took a step in the right direction, and I also know that it is a process. There's a process to it, and it's not going to be built overnight. So we just got to take another step. That's important that we do that.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. What did you know about James Houston before he signed in late July, and why wasn't he able to stick? It seemed like he has this knack for getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, I first of all, I like his professionalism. He's first guy in, last guy to leave, works his butt off, pays attention to details. He's intentional in his work. And, he's got some great slip to him. He's a real good athlete. He can run all the games that you want him to run. You saw the one game coming around the edge on the left side last week. He can turn it tight, and he's also strong. He's got strong ability to wrap up the quarterback and make those sacks. But I'm excited for his opportunity, and he's really made the most of it.
Matt Todd Archer with ESPN. Can you talk about cross-training linebackers and how do you do that now with Sanborn out? Do you give Damone some time there, or Harris? Like, how do you get all guys ready to play different spots?
Yeah, with Murray, it was a little bit easier because he was playing that Mike spot in the pass downs, so that he kind of got some, and he's had some experience in there. He's played in there 7 or 8 games over his career, so he's done that, prior to this year, so that helps out. But really, you always want to cross train the guys, and you always want to have your starters staying where they are for the most part, if you can do that. If the Will plays Will, he plays Will, Mike plays Mike, and then the backup players, they really have to do a good job of cross training 2 positions. So you always can have, I say this all the time, a pair and a spare at each spot. But with injuries and all that, we have that, but it's important that we keep training those guys there.
And the green dot, would you prefer it's like always just one guy, or do the helmet guys need to be on they're up to speed here on, hey, this guy's not winning, that guy's out, you got to switch it up?
First thing, you don't want to have 2 on the field at the same time. That's not good. But I know that's happened before, but a couple of times elsewhere. But I think it's important that the green dot guy is a great communicator, right? He commands the huddle, and he's really good at getting the attention of everybody, and I think that's important to do that. And K9's done a nice job of that, and he's had it the whole time. But you have to have guys, they all have it at practice. They hear the call, so they all know the call, and we have guys switching in and out of doing that, but it's mostly him.
John Machado with The Athletic, with Wanye Thomas filling in for Malik Hooker, how do you think he did in that role?
He did a good job. Yeah, he was great. He's got to work on a couple things like everybody else, but I think he did a nice job in the role. Really communicating well back there. I think we're on the same page in the back end. And he's a heck of an athlite. You saw him cover there on that 3rd down stop. Before we made the 4th down stop last week on that flat pass. He has good acceleration and he's got good knockback. So I like where he is.
And then what have you seen from Kalen Carson? How do you think he can help you when he gets back?
Yeah, the more guys, the better, right? So he's a good depth piece for us.
Yeah,
right now.
he just instantly let us know, hey man, don't expect too much from Kalen Carson.
Working in there, and he's competing for a spot, like everybody else.
There
he's
it
in
is.
there working, competing for a spot, with Kyer and the rest of the corners, and it's important that he takes that opportunity and does a good job with it. He's just getting back, into it. He's got some practice reps last week. He's getting more defensive reps this week, and we'll see where it goes from today until the game time.
Okay.
Nick Harris, Four Star Telegram. Shotty had mentioned over the offseason when you guys were looking for an offensive coordinator that Clayton Adams was a guy you had experience with and vouched for. Why was that the case?
Well, I was with him in Indianapolis. He did an outstanding job there, and I know how smart
That
he
man,
is. And,
well, Nick must be trying to write a Clayton Adams expose or something, because he done asked 80 Clayton Adams questions the last couple interviews.
going against him, he's a heck of a guy that can design the runs. Really create angles, mismatches, really. Wide holes before contact, yards before contact. He's great at doing that. And he's got all the schemes. He's got the gap schemes and the zone schemes and really understands principles of defense to take advantage of angles.
What is it about his run schemes from a defensive coordinator perspective that makes it so tricky? Like, even when 4 offensive linemen are out, it's still effective.
Man, if you don't ask him about the damn Panthers, bro, quit asking about ROC, bro. What the fudge?
All the simplicity of it.
I don't want to know Matt Eberflus's method of stopping ROC. He can't even stop the opposing defenses. The hell? Are you locked in on Carolina?
He doesn't ask the players to do a bunch of things. He has them do the same things over and over again, but the way he dresses it up, that makes it hard for the defense. He'll change, motions, might be a jet motion, blast motion from the tight end, and then really creating those angles formationally, and that's what he does well.
Tommy Arshhouse, Cowboys.com. How would you assess how Shamar played last week when he needed to step in there?
He did well. It's a big task for a rookie to come in there and start playing full time. When he was going into the week playing, mostly the pass stuff. So he's been intentional in his work, and he's a smart guy, and he's got high energy. What I like most about him is he's got really good instincts. Having instincts for the football and that quickness that you want to have to close space is really important at the linebacker level, because they're going to get you in space. Sometimes you got to be able to make that space evaporate with your quickness, your instincts, and your speed. And he's got that.
And then with Donovan Izaraku, he was talking about how there's been emphasis on working on his power and his rush.
Yeah.
He's a guy in college that had a bunch of moves. How do you try and marry those two things together so that he can kind of try and get back to the production that he had at Boston College?
It's all about what works for you, and there's really about one move, one counter. It comes down to really about that. So you got to perfect that. All the great rushers have one really good move, and they got one really good counter. And you just finding that way what works best up here in the NFL level. And again, that takes time. That's a process as well. But really, that's what it comes down to.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. You talked about the consistency and how on defense and how all 11 guys in terms of run defense kind of need to be on the same page. Brees had a couple big runs against you guys. When you're having some inconsistencies with people going in, people going out, how much more difficult does that make run defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's just guys doing their job and being in the right spot. That's important, and that's coaches and players, and we got to make sure that everybody understands.
Joe, did you ask a question that you did? Bro, Did you just ask how hard is it to maintain playing good run defense when guys are going in and out the damn lineup?
Stands their role and their job in that particular defense, and that's what it is. Sometimes guys will pop some runs in passing situations, which that happened a couple of times in the fourth quarter. But we got to still be on our keys and our details, of that. We understand that teams can do that. They can do whatever they want. We got to just be on the keys and details.
And Trevon McMillan was a guy you guys really liked in the draft. Obviously plays for Carolina. What have you seen from him? And what kind of challenges he poses?
Yeah, he's having a heck of a year. He's got a lot of targets, 45 or so, 47 targets. He's got a bunch of catches, and he's their main guy on third down. So it's important that we understand that. He's strong at the catch point, got a big catch radius. He's a heck of a route runner. He's got detail in that, and he's doing great.
Brad Shannon, Cowboys Radio 105.3. Japan, you mentioned time on task. Retrospectively, would it have been any help, especially with you coming in new, to have had them play together some in preseason?
I would say training camp. Preseason. Sometimes you're not. You're pretty vanilla there. I would say training camp more, Brad, and because that's where you get all your reps. That's where you're working your scheme. So that's where the understanding of the concepts and understanding of the fundamentals and technique come into play. But preseason games are good. Get there for 10, 15 plays, whatever that is. But I think training camp's more important.
Garrett. Here for LCBS Sports, Matt, you played man coverage your highest rate of the season.
So in other words, quit trying to get me to say something that goes against what my head coach likes as it pertains to playing players in the preseason. Good job, Eberflus.
Went into that. Why do you think it worked the way it did against the Jets?
Yeah, I just think that the guys are getting used to the scheme. Getting used to it. We want to play some man. Obviously, you have to do that sometimes. Having the two corners back certainly helps. In doing that, so you feel great about your matchups. In that regard. But again, it's going to come down to technique fundamentals. But having the guys back was a big part of that.
And how excited was Trevon Diggs? I think you guys had a conversation about that. Do you feel like the players that were validated, I guess, by your decision to do that?
Yeah, we're going to make the decisions based on what's we feel is best. And based on.
Hey, Eberflus is not rocking with Diggs, bro.
Matchups based on what we have, and I don't like grits either. So.
Hold on, bro. What was the? I gotta listen to the exact question and look at how he answered this.
In that regard. But again, it's going to come down to technique fundamentals. But having the guys back was a big part of that.
And how excited was Trevon Diggs? I think you guys had a conversation about that. Do you feel like the players that were validated, I guess, by your decision to do that?
Yeah, we're going to make the.
What a messy ass way to ask that question. Do you think the players were validated, bro? Bro, what a mutinous ass question, bro. And I'm going to say this. There should be nobody trying to be validated in that locker room, bro. It should just be good soldiers trying to go out there and do exactly what the hell the coaches are asking them to do, bro. We don't need nobody trying to tell the damn defensive coordinator how to do their job. Didn't we just go through this a couple seasons ago when we had a star player that told the new defensive coordinator what he was and wasn't going to do, bro? Didn't we just go through this? We don't need that no more, bro. Ain't no validation. And for what it's worth, they played some man, but they still were playing a lot of what they normally do. It's not like they played man the whole game. Man, hey, man, that question was asked in a very messy way. And Matt Eberflus, look at how he answered this when he was asked about guys being validated. Listen.
Decisions based on what's we feel is best, and based on the matchups, based on what we have. And I don't like grits either, so.
Yo, did he have to throw the grits part in there? Or was that just a slug to make it like, nah, I ain't fucking with what Trevon's talking about. Hold on.
Fundamentals, but having the guys back was a big part of that.
And how excited was, Trevon Diggs? I think you guys had a conversation about that. Do you feel like the players that were validated, I guess, by your decision to do that?
Yeah, we're going to make the decisions based on what's we feel is best, and based on the matchups, based on what we have. And
in other words, we're not about to let no damn players tell us what to do. Oh, I see a rift forming. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, Lothmer, 105.3 The Fan, Cowboys Radio. So, obviously, you're always plugging dikes as a defensive coordinator, plugging holes in the dike, I should say. The pass had been the problem, the big pass. You only gave up one 20-yard pass in this game, but obviously the runs showed their head a little bit. And how do you balance all that out? And to your point, you got 5 sacks, but you gave up a couple of big runs late. So, how do you balance all that out?
Yeah, it's about execution, right? It's about us coaching it up right and us executing the details, and that's us doing it on the grass. I know I keep saying that, but that's really what it comes down to. That's what you can hang your hat on. It's a simplistic way to look at it, but man, football is a simple game. You know, if you're in the right spot in the run defense and playing with great technique, great violence, and everybody, all 11 are doing their jobs, guess what? It's a good play on offense or defense, and it's the same thing in the pass game. You know, it's the same thing in the pass game. So it's just about doing it right over and over again, and do right longer, and that's what it's about.
All right, so that was Matt Eberflus talking about the defense. Didn't learn too much about his game plan versus the Panthers because they wasn't asking a bunch of questions about the Panthers, but maybe that's for a reason. But we did learn that, man, I don't think that Matt Eberflus is the biggest fan of Trevon Diggs up in that. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, and I wouldn't be surprised at all, bro, if Diggs' ass was out the door at some point. But either way, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Until next time, how? Them Cowboys.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still the ball? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.